It started as just another quiet Sunday afternoon in our suburban home in Kansas. The sun filtered softly through the blinds, casting a warm glow across the hardwood floors. I was in the kitchen, humming to myself as I chopped vegetables for dinner. My husband, Mark, was out of town for a work conference, and I had the house mostly to myself aside from my stepson, Evan, who had been upstairs in his room most of the day. Evan had only been living with us full-time for about 6 months. He was Mark's son from a previous marriage, and while I had known Evan for years, this was the first time we'd really lived under the same roof day in and day out. At 17, he was tall, quiet, and a little reserved, with a tendency to keep to himself unless something was absolutely necessary. We were still navigating the new dynamics, figuring out how to build a relationship that was respectful without trying too hard. But I was determined to be there for him. I had just set the chicken to bake when I heard footsteps on the stairs. Evan appeared in the kitchen doorway, wearing his usual hoodie and jeans, his dark hair tousled like he'd been laying down. He looked hesitant, his eyes darting to the floor before he spoke. "Hey, Emily," he said softly. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course," I replied, drying my hands on a towel and giving him my full attention. "What's on your mind?" He shifted his weight from foot to foot, clearly uncomfortable. "It's kind of awkward." I smiled gently, trying to put him at ease. "I'm a stepmom, Evan. That's kind of part of the job. Try me." He glanced up at me, then back at the floor. "So, I have this school event. It's this parent-student dinner thing, but it's not, like, formal. It's just, we're supposed to bring a parent or guardian. And I was wondering if you'd go with me." I blinked, surprised. Evan had never asked me to come to anything before, not a game, not a parent-teacher night. He usually made sure Mark was the point of contact for anything school-related. "Really?" I asked, my voice softer now. He nodded quickly, still looking embarrassed. "Yeah. I mean, my mom's out of the picture, and dad's away, and I don't really want to go alone." A strange warmth flooded my chest. It was just a dinner, but to me, it felt like a step forward. A real one. I reached out and touched his shoulder. "I'd love to go." His relief was visible. "Cool. It's Wednesday at 7. That night, I lay awake thinking about the request. It seemed simple on the surface, but it stirred something deeper in me, a responsibility, a bond one hadn't realized was forming. I wanted to show Evan that I wasn't just a temporary adult in his life. I wanted to be someone he could count on. Wednesday came quickly, and I took extra care getting ready. Nothing fancy, just a simple blue blouse and slacks. I wanted to look appropriate, not overdone. Evan wore a button-up shirt, and I noticed he'd made an effort, too. On the drive over, he was quieter than usual, but there was a calmness about him that I hadn't seen before. He seemed almost proud. The event itself was held in the school gymnasium, with folding tables, soft music playing from speakers, and a buffet-style dinner on one side of the room. We were seated at a table with a few other students and their parents. The conversations were light: school projects, college plans, summer internships. Evan stayed close to me, occasionally chiming in, and more than once I caught him glancing at me with a faint smile, as if reassuring himself that I was really there. At one point, a teacher came over, a tall man in his early 40s with a kind face and a firm handshake. "You must be Evan's mom," he said to me. "Oh, actually, I'm his stepmom," I clarified. The teacher nodded, smiling. "Well, you've done a great job. He's a good kid. Bright, respectful. You'd be surprised how rare that is sometimes." Evan flushed a little, but he didn't correct the teacher. In that moment, I realized something had shifted. He didn't see me as separate from his life anymore. I wasn't just his dad's wife, I was someone he was willing to stand next to and introduce as family. When we got home that night, Evan surprised me again. "Thanks for coming. It meant a lot." "Anytime," I replied. He hesitated in the hallway. "I know I'm not great at saying this kind of stuff. But I'm glad you're here. With us." I felt tears prick my eyes, but I held them back. "I'm glad too, Evan." From that night on, things were different between us. Not drastically, but noticeably. Evan started talking to me more about school, about his friends, about his plans. He'd come down for dinner without being asked, help me carry groceries in, or even just sit at the counter while I cooked. It was the kind of relationship I had hoped for, but never wanted to force. But life has a funny way of turning simple moments into complex ones. It was about 2 months later when the real shift happened. Mark had returned from his conference, but things between us had been strained lately. He was distant, working longer hours, more distracted. I assumed it was stress, and I tried not to push. But I felt it, something unspoken. One evening, after Evan had gone to bed, Mark and I got into an argument. It wasn't loud or explosive, just cold and tired. He accused me of being too involved in Evan's life. "He's not your kid," he'd said flatly. "You're not his mother." The words stung more than I expected. I tried to explain how Evan had opened up, how I was just trying to be there for him, but Mark didn't want to hear it. He brushed me off, went upstairs, and left me standing in the kitchen feeling like an outsider in my own home. The next day, Evan noticed. "Everything okay with you and Dad?" he asked quietly. I nodded, forcing a smile. "We'll be fine." But he wasn't convinced. "He doesn't get it, does he?" I didn't respond, and he sighed. "He's not here half the time. You are. You're the one who actually shows up." His words were meant as comfort, but they carried a weight I didn't expect. I had stepped into this family wanting to help, to support, to love. But somewhere along the line, I had started to belong. And now, that belonging was creating friction. One evening, Mark came home early and saw Evan and me laughing together in the living room. We had been watching an old comedy movie, and Evan had made popcorn for the two of us. It was innocent, light, but Mark's expression changed the moment he walked in. Later that night, he accused me of undermining him, of trying to replace Evan's mother. "I'm not trying to replace anyone," I told him, hurt. "I'm just trying to be there for him." But Mark's jealousy and distance only grew. He started pulling away not just from me, but from Evan, too. He'd miss dinners, skip conversations, and when he was home, he was cold and distracted. Eventually, it reached a breaking point. Evan overheard one of our arguments and confronted Mark himself. "Why are you making her feel like she doesn't belong?" he asked. "She's done more for me in the last year than you have." Mark was stunned. He didn't have a response. That night, Mark packed a bag and left. He said he needed time to think. In the days that followed, the house was quiet. Too quiet. I kept waiting for the floor to collapse beneath me, for Evan to turn cold, for everything to fall apart. But instead, Evan stepped up. He made dinner with me, asked if I needed anything from the store, and stayed in touch with his dad through texts. Next video.